Many of you may have struggled with weight and have even had people comment on your weight, knowing very much that you are very active and oftentimes more active than the people who are criticizing you. A significant portion of the population do not have excess weight because they're eating too much or not exercising enough. Be encouraged and understand that medicine is now finally understanding you. If it's one area of medicine that most of us can relate to, and medicine unfortunately has gotten wrong for so many years, it is weight and weight stability and management. In fact, obesity or being overweight in some areas affect as much as 2/3 of the population. Yet we're just starting to crack the surface of understanding obesity. For many years, we have gotten it all wrong and have left the public confused, frustrated, and in some cases, downright depressed. And in fact, depression in of itself can be a cause of obesity. But here's the thing. There are things that we as the public can understand a little bit better before you start your weight loss journey, as many of us do at the start of every single year. This perhaps is the video that you need to watch first so that you can be more successful throughout the year. So let's get started and make sure you're heading off this year on the right foot. Hey, you guys. So weight has been a challenge for me as it has been for many people. In fact, I remember when I was very much younger and became a chubby teenager. And at that time, I was not eating much, but was accused of eating too much. Then, when I entered my adulthood years, I remember people oftentimes would say things like, "You look good, don't get bigger," and things like that. And it was oftentimes when I was at my smallest. And a matter of fact, dangerously small, but no one really saw or recognized it. They all thought I was healthy, except I was the least healthy I've ever been in my entire life. Yes, we continue to have stigma when it comes to weight. And unfortunately, that stigma is because of a lack of true understanding of what really causes obesity. You see, for many years, science has gotten it all wrong. But before we get into how science has gotten it all wrong, let me first welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time. And if you have, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that we can ensure that you get the full series. So I am doing a series of dispelling myths, addressing things that we have gotten wrong or misunderstood. So that happen to be also areas that people tend to make resolutions about at the top of the year. And so this is part of that series. And before I get into the details of it, I just wanted to make sure that you felt welcome and know that you are very much welcome to this platform. Every opinion, every comment is welcome because we are all in this journey together. So go ahead and click the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up to make sure this type of content continue to get into your feed. And also get into the feed of others if you feel that this information is valuable. So we thank you for joining, and let's get into the obesity topic. So you guys, the reason why this topic came up again, and I felt that this was a perfect timing to talk about this topic, is because Wegovy, the oral form of Wegovy, so many of us know Wegovy has been on the market for some years now in the injection form, but now the FDA has recently approved the oral pill form. And I thought it was a great opportunity to again address understanding what exactly is obesity and why there was a need for medications like Wegovy, a semaglutide, or a GLP-1 medication to gain better understanding as to how we even got here and why getting to this point was so necessary. Hi, you guys. I am Dr. T. I'm a board certified OBGYN and the founder of Healthy Bump Club. So let's get into the details of how we even got to Wegovy in the first place and why this oral pill may in fact be revolutionary when it comes to the weight loss challenges of the United States and in fact, the entire world. So for many years, people have just assumed that most people who are obese because of one or two things. They're not moving enough or they're eating too much. And so this thought of overconsumption has become this haunting criticism of many people. And I say haunting because it doesn't actually address the true cause of obesity in many individuals. You see, many of you may have struggled with weight and have even had people comment on your weight, knowing very much that you are very active and oftentimes more active than the people who are criticizing you, right? Or you are eating well and eating better than the people who are criticizing you. Yet, your physique doesn't demonstrate your efforts. And that oftentimes will lead to frustration and, in some cases, even mood disorders. But here's the thing. If you are doing all that you can do, you're exercising well, you're eating well, and you still have weight challenges, you are not alone. A significant portion of the population do not have excess weight because they're eating too much or not exercising enough. In fact, studies are showing that the level of activities in wealthy countries compared to lower income countries are actually not that much different. So the assumption before would be that wealthier countries, people are just sedentary, sitting back and eating bonbons. Okay, I may have aged myself with the bonbons, but some of you understand what I mean. But the fact of the matter is that it actually isn't really the underlying cause. The most recent studies are showing that the weight issue is actually more of a factor of the quality of our diet as opposed to the excess of our diet. That's right. Most people are actually not overeating at all. In fact, they're eating appropriate quantity of food, but the quality, which sometimes has to do with access, especially when it comes to Black and Brown communities, is the underlying issue. So, what do we mean by quality of food? Well, recent studies have shown that the ultra processed foods are really the culprit of excess weight in most cases. So, yes, there are individuals who can move more, and those individuals know who they are. But a lot of overweight or obese individuals are actually very active and are oftentimes in the gym, but struggle with the weight loss despite their intense efforts. And what the science is showing, and what we finally are starting to understand, is that obesity is complex. It is not a single issue. And in fact, there are multiple factors that lead to obesity. But the one that seems to rise to the top is these ultra processed foods. So, what are these ultra processed foods? We're talking about your sodas, your snacks, your cookies, your chips, your processed meats like your hot dogs and your bolognas. We're talking about your sugary cereals as well as your frozen dinners. And here's the one that most people don't think about: your breads. That's right. Mass produced breads are ultra processed foods. So if it's one item you may want to eliminate from your diet, it may be that. This is one way I realized that the breads that we're getting are not really bread. If you notice, like I have, that your bread can be on the counter and there is no mold, it doesn't get old, and it will be weeks later and it's still as fresh as the day that you bought it, maybe slightly aged, but otherwise edible, or so we thought. The problem is that these foods are ultra processed. That's why they last so much longer. And the fight to make sure that these foods have longer shelf life has led to them being ultra processed. And that ultra processed food is doing havoc on our bodies. And some of us are very sensitive to these foods. We've also talked about on this platform things like endocrine disruptors in our beauty products, in our hygiene products that also disrupt our hormonal balances. So, hormonal balance is also another source of obesity. So, as I mentioned, obesity is complex, and there are a number of things that can lead to obesity. So, endocrine disruptors are one of those things that may be having an impact on your hormonal balance. And hormonal imbalances can definitely lead to weight issues. As many of us have noticed when we transition hormonally, so reproductive hormones is just one group of hormones that may cause such imbalances, as is evident to those who have transitioned into adolescence and may have gained some weight, or transition out of their reproductive years into menopause and realize your central area has increased in size because you're gaining weight. And that central weight is definitely a common site for hormonal imbalance related obesity. But your reproductive hormones are not the only hormones that can cause weight issues. Weight issues can be caused by other hormonal imbalances, such as your thyroid, which is most common in women, and also your stress hormones may be out of whack. Making sure that when you are struggling with obesity and weight issues, that these are some of the areas that are evaluated. But obesity has been linked to a number of other factors: genetics, poor sleep habits, as well as medications. And so it's really important that we do not make assumptions when someone is overweight. Their weight issues may be related to a number of different things that are pretty much out of their control. Once you have identified the likely cause, can actually become manageable. And for many individuals, having conditions like PCOS, for example, or some other metabolic dysfunction or insensitivity to insulin, your own innate insulin in your body can all lead to weight issues and are all signs of metabolic dysfunction. And our metabolic dysfunction can be caused by a number of factors, as I previously mentioned. The other area that we oftentimes underestimate or overlook is mood disorders. So, individuals who have anxiety and depression also can struggle with weight issues. And the flip side of that is that the medications that are being used to treat mood disorders have actually been linked to increasing weight or weight gain. Hormonal therapy for those who are on birth control can oftentimes experience weight gain or unwanted weight excess. So let's be sensitive as a population to understand that most individuals are obese not because they're over consuming. It may be food access or having a healthy food desert. They don't have access to healthy foods. So they may be on food assistance and they may have to purchase certain types of foods that are available in their communities that lead to these weight issues. Weight issues is such a very sensitive topic. And because so many individuals, despite their efforts of exercising and eating healthy or eating as healthy as they can, still struggle with weight issues is exactly what led to the discovery and the need for options such as Wegovy. And this, by no stretch of the imagination, is a promotion for the medication, just to be clear. I just want to make sure that we understand why we needed these medications. It wasn't because people were just failing their weight loss regimen. It was because their weight loss regimen had more to do with metabolic issues than it did their actual lifestyle. And so now there's a medication that we know is effective, and we know that it was effective from the trials with the injection form. And there are other weight loss medications that are also GLP-1s. I'm just touching on Wegovy because it's the one that is now approved as an oral medication. And not only is it an oral medication, but it also showed pretty significant weight loss in the 307 individuals who were included in the main study that led to its approval. And so whether the weight loss was 14% in the far majority of patients who were in the trial or in a subgroup of 28% body weight loss. Okay, percent body weight loss, that's 14 to 28%. That's a significant loss. It is important to understand that the individuals in the study were also on a healthy diet and also committed to being physically active. So it's very important to understand that weight loss medications are not a cure. They're not a panacea. They are an adjunct to a healthy lifestyle. It is really important that you continue on a healthy lifestyle. So these medications may not be a solution for everyone, but it really does demonstrate that hormonal imbalances, neurotransmitters, the connection between our gut hormones, our appetites, our moods, that these are all connected. And we're finally understanding that obesity and the obesity struggle and crisis, not just in the US, but around the world, is, is way more complex than we initially thought. And because we have spent years of stigmatizing individuals, that's why I thought it was really important to hop on the platform to break down how we were so wrong. And it's time to remove those stigmas and be more compassionate when we are addressing individuals who are struggling with weight. That being said, medications may actually be the only other options for individuals who have done the exercise, who have done the healthy eating, who have switched out the unhealthy ultra processed foods, and they're eating mostly a fresh food diet or whole foods, and they're working out the recommended 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week and 2 to 3 days of muscle strengthening, and they still need additional help, and that's okay. But make sure you discuss this with your healthcare team, because this option is not for everyone. It is not a it is not a short-term medication. We do not yet have a short-term medication that's a GLP-1. And so it's important that individuals who are looking at these options understand that this is, for now, a lifetime commitment, because the studies have shown that the individuals who come off these medications do tend to regain their weight. And so understand that this medication may not be the solution for everyone, but it's important to understand that there are individuals who do not have a choice but to look towards these medications, because obesity is one of the biggest issues in our country. It is linked to so many medical conditions that lead to mortality. So whether it's heart disease, diabetes, obesity is linked to at least 13 different cancers, sleep disorders, mood disorders, dementia, and the list goes on and on. And so it's really important that we're able to tackle this disorder, but being able to tackle it requires that we have better understanding of exactly what obesity is. And for those who have been working out and have been doing lots of cardio, don't forget your muscles. So exercise is medicine and muscles are pharmaceutical. So I just want to touch on one more point before we head out. Yes, cardio is hugely important. And if you haven't done any type of exercise, cardio is probably the most important area to start with. But if you are struggling with weight issues, and you are trying to improve certain outcomes, your blood pressure, your hemoglobin A1C, your diabetic numbers, it is so important to be strong. And I mean that figuratively and literally. Your muscles are a part of your treatment. So being small doesn't mean that you're healthy, and being big doesn't mean that you're unhealthy, right? Because a lot of individuals lose the weight and they lose their muscle mass, and their measures or their benchmarks don't get much better. And the reason why is because they're not really changing their percent body fat. Muscles actually help our insulin to work better. And so part of making your health better and working on those numbers, so instead of just focusing on the scale, I want you to start focusing on outcome measures. So looking at your blood pressure, is it getting better? Looking at your waist, because that's really the fat that lays over our heart that is leading to heart disease. So you want to make sure your belly fat is at a minimum. Looking at your hemoglobin A1C, are you pre-diabetic? Are you diabetic? If you are diabetic, what are those numbers looking like? How is your cholesterol? These are the outcome measures that really matter when it comes to your overall health. So don't get discouraged. Don't get down when people mention your weight. Be encouraged and understand that medicine is now finally understanding you. And don't forget your protein, because if you're not consuming enough protein, guess what? You can't be Popeye strong. Popeye may have said he ate spinach, but I believe Popeye ate some protein too. Because a lot of people, what happens is people, when they change their diets and they stop eating meat or decrease their meat intake, then they don't increase their their veggie-based protein intake. And so they become undernourished when it comes to protein. Protein is a necessary macronutrient because it's a building block for so many things, right? From antibodies to our hormones, name it, right? However, protein is also important if you want to build muscle. So if you want to build muscle, you want to give muscle the building blocks necessary to be stronger, and that is protein. So if you're not a big meat eater, just make sure that you're consuming plant-based proteins so that you can build the muscle and be stronger and be able to control better your metabolism. Listen, some people have better metabolic rates. No matter how much they eat, they will never be big. That's okay if that's not your story. But these are tips that are going to help you make better decisions so that you can change your life. And if you have been doing the same thing for many years, perhaps using some of these tips that I mentioned may make the difference for you because your obesity story may not be one of overconsumption or being sedentary. So, as long as you're doing the basics, you're staying active, you're exercising, you're building muscle, you're eating well, you are doing the best you can. Please do not be discouraged. And it's okay if you fall off and you have to get back up again. The important thing is that you get back up again and you continue. This is not an easy journey because you're fighting against environmental factors, hormonal issues, you're fighting against your food industry. There are a lot of factors that are making it so hard for people to lose the weight. But there are options out there. And so have a discussion with your healthcare team to figure out whether or not these medications are an option for you. And if they're not, it's okay. Continue on your journey. But even if you are a candidate for the medications, understand that you have to continue your healthy lifestyle and get rid of ultra processed foods. Everyone, please, as much as you can. You may not be able to get rid of it 100%, but see if you can minimize your intake of ultra processed foods this year. So, so critically important. Maybe targeting one area, maybe the sodas, maybe targeting your snacks, maybe targeting breads. I think breads are probably going to be my target. Maybe targeting your frozen dinners, and that includes your vegetarian dinners, your vegan dinners. If they're processed, period. So I hope I have given you the information that you need to be more successful this year when it comes to your health. I appreciate you guys just sticking with me for this journey. As we're all on this journey together, like I shared, I have my own struggles. My goal this year is to build up my upper body. Listen, I did well with my lower body. Don't mess with my thighs. They may knock you out. Okay? Listen, your goal is powing below, but I also want to build up that strength in my upper body. So that's my personal goal this year, in my journey of building muscle to hopefully help my metabolism. I also will be working on my midsection because as I became perimenopausal, that midsection said, "Oh, girl, things are shifting." So I got to respond to it. But that's how we become self-aware and we make action plans that address the issues that we're encountering. So perhaps your issue may be your mood. Perhaps your issue may be certain medications. So having discussions about changing your medications. Maybe you haven't been tested for hormonal imbalances. Maybe it's time to get tested. All women should be getting screened for thyroid disorders. Okay. And I too have a thyroid disorder. So that's part of my weight journey issues. So when people make comment, it's like, girl, you don't even know what it's like to have a hormonal imbalance, right? And to not be on medication for it. So I really have to work very hard at what I'm doing to continue to control my autoimmune condition. But I say all of this because I want us as a community to be more compassionate, to be more understanding, and to be more supportive. So instead of criticizing, perhaps saying, let's go for a walk together, right? Perhaps saying, let's eat a healthier dinner today. Or let me get you something healthier to eat. There's so many ways we can be supportive as opposed to criticizing, because some of us are just blessed with better metabolism, and some of us have to struggle our entire lives. And that's okay, as long as we help each other through the journey. Okay? No judgment, just love. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope to see you guys the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what your health commitment is for this year and how you are planning to support somebody else in their journey. I think that's probably a great goal because the more we do things in community, the more successful we are. So let your goal for the year be not just how you are going to make your own lifestyle changes, but how are you going to support someone else in their weight journey? That makes us even more successful. All right. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for joining me today. And I hope to see you guys when. Don't forget to check out the other episodes where we talk about how you can optimize your health and wellness for this year. All right. That's it. I promise. I'm Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube and Healthy Bump Club on Instagram. And thank you guys for joining me. And I hope to see you guys when? The next episode. Ew. Thank y'all. This is Dr. T, just a friendly reminder. Don't forget to comment, like, and share. And go ahead, why not? Click that subscribe button. Help us to get to the next 1,000 subscribers. We thank you guys for supporting.